You know, this is HeinOnline, and we are demonstrating researching labor and employment in the US, which is both a topic that's on HeinOnline and an all-new collection add-on that goes in more depth into this area of labor employment on HeinOnline. We will start by doing what we do sometimes when webinars are on a Monday. We do this little stretch. It's mostly for me. I know most of you aren't going to duplicate it. It's mostly for me to get the energy up, because it is a Monday. And now we are going to progress with the PowerPoint. As you know, I'm Steve Roses. On the left here, we have Tim Hoagie, who's joining us right here. He's the Senior Director of Sales. Sometimes the webinars are also done by Roxanne Marmion. She did the one in this morning for our international folks. It was actually 6 a.m. Eastern time. I doubt any of the same people are on that webinar that are on this webinar, but just for you to know, she does many of the webinars as well, as does Tim Hoagie, who is joining us today. Now we're going to start with a brief introduction to HeinOnline. Of course, HeinOnline is multidisciplinary. You may be familiar with it. You might know it from our political science content. You might know us from our gender studies content, our international content. Many of you subscribe to something that's called HeinOnline Academic, which has that multidisciplinary content. Some of you are even perhaps in firms that subscribe to HeinOnline, subscribe to our US core. We also have folks who have never had a trial of HeinOnline. We welcome you. If you've never had a trial of HeinOnline, just email me at sroses@wshein.com. I'll be showing my email later, but definitely email us and let us know if you'd like a trial, because if you have never had a trial of HeinOnline, you're in for a treat. But today we're really focusing in on the topic of labor and employment in HeinOnline, as well as our new add-on collection, which is labor and employment in the American worker. And many of you probably know that we are based in Buffalo, New York, which is a city that has an amazing history with the American worker, and actually reminds me of a place where my daughter goes to school in Manchester, UK, another city in the world that is has a great history as far as the Industrial Revolution, as far as the workforce. In fact, I believe Manchester, UK's symbol is the worker bee. You see it around the city when you walk around. So that's very interesting to know. And we're really informed by a commitment to looking at the American worker or workers in general. And that sort of informs how we put all of this together. But we are covering labor and employment. So some of the things you'll see in the more than 5.2 million pages and the 11,000 titles that are in labor and employment is a chart of landmark court cases. Why? Because you really want to know, just as you would when you're studying something like the civil rights movement, you want to see the landmark court cases. So too with labor and employment. Thousands of books ranging from the early 1900s to present day. If you're familiar with HeinOnline, if you subscribe, you know that we have over 19,000 monographs and treatises. So too in this particular add-on, labor and employment, we have a lot of full text, fully searchable monographs and treatises. Nearly 3,000 Congressional Research Services material and GAO reports, because we have them in all our different subject-oriented collections. Hundreds of scholarly articles, which we have put together for you. Nearly 200 legislative histories, because we want you to see the intent of Congress when they passed the various bills and what became law regarding employment legislation and labor legislation. Nearly 200 legislative histories, as I mentioned. I'm so excited about legislative histories that I'm actually mentioning it twice, because that is a unique aspect of HeinOnline. Now, more than 300 Supreme Court briefs. Now, not only are you getting the key cases, but we want you to see the briefs, because we want you to see some of the underlying arguments that were used by the justices when they're making their decisions. So we include in the collection for you Supreme Court briefs. This is one of the collections on HeinOnline that does have Supreme Court briefs. We, of course, want you to see serials and periodicals on the subject, so we've included them. And as you know, we organize all our subjects in HeinOnline in a hierarchy, a taxonomy, which organizes things by subject and category. But in the case of labor and employment, the American worker, we've actually added 18 new title level browsable and searchable subjects, because this collection is adding a lot more in the labor and employment area than we had before. So And we'd like to show that to you. Some of the subject: captive labor, employment benefits, equal employment, immigrant workers, and agriculture. You can see how these subjects have so much effect on all the public policy aspects of American society. Employment benefits, equal employment, immigrant workers, and agriculture. So you can see how it borders there into the immigration issue, labor dispute and strikes, labor laws and legislation, labor market, labor unions, mediation and labor relations, minimum wage, that's always a big issue, occupation, illness and dangers, overtime pay, pensions and retirement, public sector employees, trade and economy, unemployment and compensation. By the way, we have public sector employees and obviously private sector employees, which is a big aspect of this collection. Trade in the economy, unemployment compensation, wages, workplace protections, such as OSHA, if you're familiar with that. Now, labor employment, the American worker, like so many of our collections, so many of the webinars we've done, we talk about how our different collections on HeinOnline have a LibGuide with searches, with tips and tricks, with search suggestions, sometimes with videos, very often with videos. So too is the LibGuide that we offer you in the labor and employment, the American worker. So we want to remind you, if you've never had a trial, if you're an academic institution, for example, we offer you a 6-month free trial of HeinOnline. So do contact us with that. What do we need to set up the trial for you? IP range and your proxy, or maybe you use Open Athens, for example. Let us know. We can set up the trial for you. Access to more than 30 academic databases. Actually, HeinOnline Academic is so rich with databases, it's getting to almost 40 academic databases. You can live chat us. We have all sorts of phone support, etc. So just to remind you, you can see that you can reach us this way, marketing@wshein.com. You can see it's WSHEIN.com. My name is Steve Roses, so it's sroses@wshein.com. Or if you're want to contact Tim Hoagie, T Hoagie, which is spelled THOOGE @wshein.com. Okay, now we are on all sorts of social media. When I say social media, what am I talking about? LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and of course, well, anything else that's mentioned here, Twitter. That's right. So just be aware of that. And now I am going to do a new share for you because I want to go actually on HeinOnline. So pardon me as I get here. It's going to take a second, and I'm going to go on to share with you on HeinOnline. Can everyone see my screen here? I'm going to do a new share going on here. Does everyone see where it says fastest growing multidisciplinary research platform? That's because HeinOnline is the fastest growing multidisciplinary research platform. Okay, here we are. We're on HeinOnline. Does everyone see it? Please tell me if you can't see it, because then you won't even know what I'm talking about. I'm assuming you're going to tell me if you can't see it. You can chat me, or you can send me a question. I have various. So one thing I want to show you is the labor and employment collection itself. It's an add-on, so unless you subscribe to it, you don't actually get it. You have to add it on. We do have a lot of labor and employment content already on HeinOnline, but this is, now I'm talking about the add-on collection. So it's right here listed under labor and employment. If you don't currently subscribe to it, you can get a trial of it, and it's very inexpensive, and it's offered for a one-time perpetual access fee for those of you who subscribe to HeinOnline. Now, if you want to see what's in here, you can just click on the eye like any other collection. You can actually download a list of what's in the collection. You can see there's over 5 million pages, 11,000 titles. Here's a nice description of it, and I'm going to take you into it just to see it briefly. And then I'm going to show you how to look at labor and employment content in general in HeinOnline, because it's important that you know that how to use that using Pathfinder. Now, can everyone see this page right here? So this is where you would go for books, congressional hearings dealing with labor and employment. We have almost 5,000 congressional hearings full text congressional hearings dealing with labor and employment issues, committee prints, Congressional Research Service reports, GAO reports, 1,424 GAO reports specifically dealing with what topic? Labor and employment. These are all in this labor and employment collection. We've brought together some labor law cases. Here are over 200 legislative histories specifically around the area of labor employment. Of course, we want you to have access to the US Code title, specifically that deals with this topic, but also the Code of Federal Regulations titles. The Code of Federal Regulations titles that deal with labor and employment are 20 and 29. The US Code title is 29. Here we've had some periodicals and serials that we put together for you. We, as I mentioned, have briefs. These are full text briefs dealing with labor and employment, and then select scholarly articles that our editors have put together. And because we want you to get access to the information on this topic at large, we add for you an additional bibliography. A lot of people ask me, is there a lot of material in labor and employment collection that's not in the main HeinOnline academic? Yes, in fact, I'm just comparing to one of the core collections, and it does vary by core, but there's 800 titles that are unique to labor and employment, the collection, that are not in the main core collection. So yes, there's an extensive amount of additional materials to be had by this, plus we organize it for you in a way that allows you to research this issue. So definitely have a trial of it so you can look at it. And if you haven't had a trial of HeinOnline Academic or one of those core collections, definitely get that as well. Okay, now I'm going to go into the labor and employment collection. I want you to see, I'm going to put in a term, Pullman strike, right here, just to give you an idea of searching capability in here. And I'm going to put this up here. And now we're searching for the term Pullman strike, which many of you may remember is a big event that happened in 1894 that has influenced labor and employment to this day as far as strikes. You remember that there were injunctions after the Pullman strike, and that has affected labor and employment since then. We're looking at an article here called The Legal Ancestry of Pullman Strike Injunctions. And that's an interesting article, but we could look at something else. Here are other articles and materials on the material. Here's from a book, The Labor Story, A Popular History of American Labor from 1786 to 1949. That could be very interesting. But I think for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to open up this very influential legal ancestry of the Pullman strike injunction so you can see just some of the basic functionality. Now, as a reminder, you can download right here. That's where you download. Here's where you print. Now, you can email someone who is in your organization or someone external. You can email them a link to any documents you find on HeinOnline. And when you send them material, you can pick and choose the citation format. So for example, if you're say, I want to send the legal ancestry of this material, you could choose. Do you want to send this in Blue Book format? Do you want to send it in APA? Do you want to send it in MLA? Do you want to send it to Chicago? Are you sending it in Canada? Do you want to put it in McGill Guide format? Are you sending it to Australia? You have all sorts of options. Now, let's say you wanted to cite this great influential article. You could go right here to cite. You'll notice that you can cite this in a number of formats. In fact, I'm just going to show you here. This works with RefWorks, Zotero, Noodle Tools. Do any of your organizations use any of these? RefWorks, Zotero, Noodle Tools, EndNote. Then you'll be able to work with those right here because that allows you to import the material. Notice we have all the different formats, and right here on the bottom is where RefWorks, EndNote, Zotero is, etc. We also work with all sorts of discovery layers, but if you're familiar with HeinOnline, you well know that. Now, if you wanted to, say you're in an academic institution and you wanted to get a permanent link for a syllabus, for a professor to use this, boom, click on here. It's going to create a permanent link to this document. And don't worry, if you have a proxy server, you can register that with us, and the permalinks will work not only in your IP range, but external to your IP range. So don't worry about that. Now, let's say you really find this article to be stunningly relevant to exactly what you're researching. You might want to find like articles. without doing a whole new search up here. And that's where More Like This comes in. More Like This is basically an algorithm that finds the most interesting words, and it takes the most interesting words to find other documents of like topic. So let's see here, we're doing a search of the most interesting words in that particular document to find other documents. But as you'll see, once we have this new list of documents, we'll be able to fine tune it even more. So you can see that we have all these different results. And you'll notice Scholar Check is here. If you ever use HeinOnline, you'll notice, for example, a strike and its legal consequences, an examination of the receivership precedent for the labor injunction. Now, labor injunctions are a big part of the history of American law as far as it affects employment and labor. And you might, when you're doing research, want to see the other articles that have cited this article. 51, you can go to the full text right here and go to those other articles. You might want to see cases that have cited this article. You go right here, cited by 2 cases. It'll take you to the full text of those articles. Now, there's something here called MyHein. MyHein is a bookmarking tool. It's optional. You don't need to use it, but it's going to give lots of additional value to each and every individual user of HeinOnline. What you do is you set up a MyHein profile, and that allows you anytime and a username and password for yourself for MyHein, for the bookmarking tool. Anytime you see the symbol, you'll be able to save a labor or employment document or any topic document that you're looking for, a book, a periodical, a case, etc., government document. Now, I mentioned you can tweak this More Like This feature. Notice it picked up on these particular topics: labor, strike, Indiana, York. Some of these are really important to what we're researching, but maybe Indiana, if you're not in Indiana, maybe it's less important. You might lower the significance of Indiana. You might lower the significance of York. York. You might want to re-emphasize the word Pullman, because remember, we were researching Pullman strikes. And you really want this to be after 1894, because that's when the Pullman strike situation started. So you might want to make this from 1895 to what's the current year? Oh, 2023. And now we're doing a whole new search, and we're tweaking it, and we're getting all sorts of new results. So similar to what we first did on this algorithm, but we're getting different results. And you can see that will bring a whole bunch of different results. Now, see, those are the different results with the tweak that we did on the More Like This feature. Now, I want to take you into the heart of HeinOnline, if you will, the Law Journal Library, because that is where I can best show you the Pathfinder feature. So I'm going to go into Law Journal Library. By the way, I'm going to make this bigger again, because I know some of you can't see it as well. Boom, now it's bigger, right? So we're in Law Journal Library, and we want to do what? We want to look at the Pathfinder feature. What is the Pathfinder feature? The Pathfinder feature is the feature that organizes all the subjects to HeinOnline. Why do we do this? We want you to find things on HeinOnline, so we've organized it by Pathfinder subject. Now, if you go into the journal library and you go to the Pathfinder subjects, you click on it. That's right, you click on it, and then what happens? You're going to find our whole Pathfinder feature. And here, if you want to, in this classification setting, where it's in basically list order, you could see, hey, do I want to research that? Where do I want, how am I going to find employment and labor? Well, you can see these are the major topics. You will notice employment and labor is in the industries or the business aspect of HeinOnline. We have it organized under industries. It's under employment and labor. And you can see we have all these subtopics: employment, employment and labor, termination of employment, wages, etc., workers. But if you're a visual learner, you want to see it on a different level. Let me show you the graphical feature of Pathfinder. And now you have all the different multidisciplinary subjects that are in HeinOnline. And this Pathfinder feature, boom, brings you right into industries, which is where the employment and labor is. You open up industries, and it gives you a whole bunch of new options. And you could say, well, what do I want to look through in employment and labor? Well, I'm really interested in unions or wages. Let's go into wages right here. And then on the finite level, it's going to take you into documents that deal with wages. And here we are. Now, here is a very relevant article, always comes up. Of course, this is a very important journal article, goes back to 1971. Sex discrimination in employment, a survey of state and federal remedies. Notice this article is so important that this article was cited by 2 cases. And this article was cited by 18 other articles. We have the full text of the case. We have a full text of the article. But we also want you to see the different topics that are in this article. Yes, it deals with equal pay and wages, but it also deals with discrimination, social group issues, and gender in the law. So it really touches on a lot of different issues. Okay, so now we are going here. I'm going to do a search. I want to show you a Venn diagram search. Some of you, many of you have seen this before, but it's really helpful, especially with people maybe who are visual learners also, who want to, and maybe aren't that familiar with searching in HeinOnline. You go to advanced search, and advanced search gives you many different additional search options. Yes, you can do a search here where you're searching by text, article title, author, description, state, country, date. You can use proximity built in, so you don't need to. Yes, you can do a Google style search, and yes, you can use Boolean in HeinOnline. Or here's a nice compromise. We have built-in parameters for you, so you could throw in terms, but you can really specify. It gives you the specificity you want within 25, within 10, within 5, and or not, and that kind of proximity. If you wanted to do a more like this search, type search, but before you do an actual search, remember the more like this algorithm is after you've done a search, you can actually put in terms at the beginning of the search, like keyword search here, and I could put in something like, oh, equal pay is important for my search, and maybe I'll weigh that very highly, and maybe gender equality is very important for my search. So I'll put in gender equality. And that's going to be as important as this. And I'll put in wages, also very important for this search. And we could put in wages. And let's say that is of moderate importance. We could add a new term here if we want. And we could specify, 2010 to 2023, just to narrow it. And we could do a search like this. So this is the keyword search builder method of searching. I want to quickly go over, I wanted to show you this, but I also want to quickly go over to the Venn diagram search. So you can see this is very effective in getting you right to what you want to search if you're searching for gender equality policy as it relates to labor. Very useful. But in addition to that, you can go to a Venn diagram search, and that's going to give you circles and overlapping circles. Let me try to show that to you really quick. And then I want to show you some of the customer service features that make HeinOnline so usable. So I do have to leave time for that. Okay, so we're in advanced search again, and we're going into, what are we going into? The Venn diagram search feature. Some people love this. Some people don't care about it. Some people love it. Everything in life is about preference. Most people love it, I think. I'm gonna settle on that most people actually love this feature. Okay, now I'm going to put in equal pay again. And I'm going to put in wages. And I'm going to take cap locks off. And I'm going to put in gender equality, or I'm just going to put in quality, let's say. Okay, equal pay, wages, and equality. Now we're doing a search. We're going to see how these are organized in the scope of HeinOnline. And it's interactive, so you'll see, well, I'll explain once this comes out. So you can see the different circles, the Venn diagrams, if you will. Here's where wages and equality are. Here's where equal pay is. Here is the overlap. So wages and equality, right here, 65,000 results. Equal pay, of course, right here, 24,000 results. We don't really want either separately. We want to see the overlap of the whole wages and equality, where it talks about equal pay. And that is really this overlap here, 7,830. Now, if we wanted to, we can add another term, and I'll make this capital, and we'll add gender into the mix. So that will actually come up with 4 different circles, and then you can fine tune things even more and get to more specificity. This is the point where I say, hey, I'm really glad that we have this feature. Here, there's wages, there's gender, there's equal pay. Where is the overlap? It's just this red area between all four areas. And that comes to still a sizable amount, 4,480 results. And you can see these are really great on-point results dealing with this topic. Pay equity strategy and feminist local theory. You could really go in depth using books, using articles, using government documents, searching in this area. Look, income disparity, gender equality, and free expression. This is, one of the issues for our ages, and HeinOnline helps you research that as you're researching labor and employment. Now, what are some of the key customer service helping tools? Live chat. When does live chat work? 8:30 to 6, Monday through Friday. You can live chat us, 8:30 to 6, Monday through Friday, Eastern time. So if you're in the West Coast, there's still a lot of overlap with your schedule, but just remember it's Eastern time. So live chat is very helpful. Also, we have, as I mentioned, LibGuides to so many of our different collections. We have feedback. We're a very small company. We love positive feedback. We love negative feedback. Well, we don't love negative feedback, but we learn from negative feedback. So do not hesitate to give us positive and negative feedback. LibGuides, really helpful. This is where you would go for LibGuides. Here's the labor and employment collection. You can see we have a little video in here for you. We have subjects. We talk about the landmark cases on labor employment. Documents, we help you find documents in HeinOnline and through labor employment. This is like a guide to show you how to use that additional collection. So if you get a trial to labor and employment, let's say you don't have the HeinOnline Core or HeinOnline Academic, first you need to do that, get a trial of that or subscribe to that. Then you can add a trial of labor and employment. When you get a trial of labor employment, this very inexpensive, easy to use collection, you can then go and use the free LibGuide, and it will help you to do some of your initial searches. We've included help resources for you. We've included related HeinOnline blog posts, because that is one of the key areas we write about in our blog, because you can research so many areas of labor and employment with HeinOnline. Here's additional resources outside of HeinOnline, and we give you search tips because we want you to get the most out of your use of HeinOnline and specifically labor and employment. So just look out for those LibGuides. They're really valuable. I see we have some questions here. Thank you for loving the platform. That is a great concept. You can see, I don't know if you can see, there's question and answer, but someone actually said, love the platform, which is, we love to hear that. Is the keyword builder only available in advanced search? Well, that's where you find keyword builder in the various collections, is in the advanced search. However, you can use tools like the more like this feature in many of the other collections. So, but the best way to find the keyword search builder is in the advanced search. Is it possible to search about child labor policies and regulations? Yes, although I don't have, there's tons of material on child labor and policies and regulations. Although I don't have time, I don't believe, to start a whole new search. We can certainly do it offline, and we can do, yeah, I'll skip it, but offline, especially if you have a trial, I can give you some search suggestions for finding material on that. Amazing amounts of material, stuff you won't find from other databases in many cases. So we can do that. Are there any other questions? I don't think we have any other questions. I think we're at the end of the 2:30. I believe there are questions at the end of the webinar, so definitely answer the questions as you sign off. We do love feedback, as I mentioned, and we love positive feedback, but we also love helpful, constructive feedback as well. So definitely give us that. We want these webinars to be really useful for you in the future. We want to keep building collections that are useful for you, that are gonna serve you, that are gonna get you the data you need for your fellow attorneys, for your academic institutions, for your students, for your think tank. We really appreciate it. Yes. So if there's any questions I haven't answered, do ask me. My email address is sroses@wshein.com. I'm actually going to put it right here. sroses@wshine.com, and just email me if there's any question I didn't cover. But this is a really rich database, both HeinOnline itself and also the add-on of labor and employment. So many areas that we haven't touched on, you'll be able to research both from a current standpoint and a historical standpoint. The beauty of HeinOnline is it has both historic and current information, and in that way gives context to all of it, because you have to understand the past to know the present and the future, but also you have to know the present and future to know the present and future. So you have all of that together, and that's one of the beauties of HeinOnline. So appreciate it, appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and definitely be sure to have a good day. And if you like these webinars, attend next month. We'll be on an all new topic, and we're going to keep doing them for you. Some of them will be by Tim Hoagie, some of them will be by Roxanne Marmion, and some of them will be by myself. And sometimes we have guest presenters as well, like a few weeks back where we had a guest presenter. So just be aware of that. All I can say now is have a great day, and thank you for your time.